Hey guys, Heathen Moose here. Come to talk to you about the 6 things that I want to see in 2025 as far as wrestling's concerned. It is a bit late. I've had this on the back burner, but all these things still hold. Starting at number 6 for things I want to see, I want to see more separation between Raw and SmackDown when it comes to WWE and with Collision and Dynamite and AEW. I want different sets. I want hardline on the rosters. I want them to have their own pay-per-views. It would be great if we went back to like the mid 2000s where, Raw would have a pay-per-view one month, SmackDown would have it the next. That way you get more storyline build-up. You get more food, you get more meat in each of those feuds and more importance on them instead of just jamming them through. Same thing with AEW. Split it up. Have, more shows just for Collision. Hey, we have this pay-per-view, it's for Collision. This is going to be focused more on the international title versus Dynamite would be more of the world title. TBS versus the, women's title. TNT versus the pure title. Just give it more of an identity for each show and more importance, as well as give it their own identity as far as even the stage. So for like Raw and SmackDown, for the longest time, they always had the same fucking stage, and then they do it for the PLEs. AEW kind of mix it up a little bit, but still it's roughly the same. Again, just give them more of an identity and give them that separation so we could focus more on each show's for number 5 for things I want to see in 2025, I want to see more unique stage design. So again, I grew up early 2000s and then late 2000s watching, had a little, gap in there. The pay-per-view and the show sets were so iconic. You had the SmackDown Giant Fist. You had the big steel angular construction of Raw with the announce table by the entranceway. Bad Blood had its own design. Hell in a Cell had its own design. Capital Punishment had the big, White House looking design on top. WrestleMania every year was great. I mean, now we get an XL. Bring back the cool ass individual iconic stage designs for pay-per-views so that they have their own identity. That's something we can call back on instead of just changing the video. Number 4 for 2025, I want to see less Jericho. Now, he's in my top 10 greatest of all time for sure. He's had this long ass career as multi-time world champion between different companies. But at this point, we need to see less of him. Take the breaks, do the tours, do the Jericho cruise, give time to younger talent. Maybe be a manager, don't be a wrestler. Or if you do wrestle, make it farther and, few in between. Focus more on the younger guys because now you're seeing Jericho start to slow down a bit. He's had more and more issues with things like the lion salt and overall just the overall reaction to him is we see him too much. He came to AEW, he was the headliner, he was the world champion, he's had how many factions at this point? Take a step away, just focus on being a manager, focus on commentary for a bit, give the other guys the time to shine, then come back and get that better reaction. But I think it's time for him to take a step back at this point and focus on other shit. Hell, go focus on being in more, horror movies like the horror deathmatch wrestling that he was in, or Terrifier, or Sharknado, or any of that. Just take a step back, let us enjoy the younger talent before you make a comeback, and get the better reaction. Number 3, 4 things I want to see in 2025. I want to see more of a faction focus, not just on the leaders. So we've had the Bloodline, we've had Judgment Day, we've had the Jericho Learning Society, we've had the Learning Tree, we've had all this shit where it's just focused on the leader, where I feel like we can get much more entertainment and interplay with the background characters. So for like the Judgment Day, they had all that fun shit with R-Truth and Damian Priest, not as much in the background. Now the Priest is gone, now it's just been Finn, Liv, and kind of Dom, but more just Finn and Liv. Give us more time with Carlito. Give us more time with, Tama Tonga, who barely talks, although everyone loves his little yeah. Give us more focus on the supporting people in the faction and not just the leaders, because that way you can extend the life of the stories. We were going with Jacob and Solo in the Bloodline. Feels like that's being put on the back burner right now. Give us some more interplay between like Solo and Tama, Jacob and Tama. What's Carlito doing, talking about his crush on Raquel that they post on social media. Give us more of those, like, supporting characters and more time with them, not just the face of the faction. Number two things I want to see on 2025 wrestling. I want to see more title changes. Now, again, I wrote this at the beginning of the year, just been real behind as far as making these videos. Tiffany Stratton winning the Women's Championship on SmackDown was great. The SmackDown tag titles changing around is great. The U.S. title flipping back and forth a couple times, that's great. That's what I love. I want to see more of that, not just on SmackDown, because it's very much been focused on SmackDown. Do the same shit on Raw. Do it with the Intercontinental. Hell, do it with the World title. Back in, the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression, the golden age of wrestling for a lot of people, you had the title moving around a ton. It showed that, they had all these main eventers. They were all, world title level. They were all playing around with it. They were all getting multi-times. Stone Cold never really held it that long. He held it, 6, 7 times? Same thing with The Rock. Same thing with, Randy Orton, Triple H, John Cena. John Cena had a couple really long title reigns, and there was a couple that flipped around a bunch. Give it that importance that everyone's scrambling for it. Having that ability to say, hey, Damian Priest is a former world champion versus, you have Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, who are presented like their main event level, but that accolade of being a world champion, even if it was only for a short time, I think would boost a lot of it and prove more at the main event caliber. Same thing it did back in the day. Even though Mick Foley was only a 3-time world champion, he was a main event former world champion. Let's have the titles mixed around more. Same thing with SmackDown. SmackDown's tag division is killing it. I love them doing that, bouncing around. Do it with the SmackDown U.S. tag or U.S. title. Do it with the women's title. Mix it up a bit and keep it unpredictable and have it switch between PLEs and shows. And hell, if they bring back Saturday night's main event again, it'll give it something to watch for instead of being so predictable. And for the final number one thing that I would like to see more of for wrestling this year is overall shorter title reigns. Now, Roman holding the title for as long as he did, yes, it put him in the upper echelon. But it gets so old so quickly. You had a guy defending his title by having someone come in and help him every single time. You have Cody Rhodes, who's, holding it for about a year at this point. I doubt he's even going to lose it at Mania. Although if he does, it's going to be shenanigans. You have Gunther, who's been holding it forever. You have the, women's championship. You had Rhea hold it for, forever and a day. You had Nia hold the SmackDown one for most of last year. Give it shorter title reigns and mix it up more to keep it unpredictable. None of the title reigns were super long for most of us that watched wrestling when we were growing up. That's why when they did have the long title reigns, they stood out so much more. John Cena holding it for a year and being Super Cena, in the mid-2000s, that was a huge fucking deal. CM Punk holding it for 434 days. That was a huge fucking deal because it wasn't a thing at that point. You had it bounce around between The Miz, Del Rio, Edge, Cena, Mysterio held it for a night. Give us those shorter title reigns so when we have the really long ones, we can appreciate it more. Same thing with AEW. Jon Moxley's been holding that world title for however long now. You don't even see it. It's in a fucking briefcase and he's hiding it away. Give us the shorter reigns, push the people to the top, and give us that variety instead of one person holding it for the longest time. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you want to see this year in 2025 when it comes to wrestling. And don't forget to drop a like, hit that subscribe, and leave a comment.